It's lights out and away we go.
Formula One is often given the prestigious title of being the cream of the crop out of all disciplines and divisions of motorsport. It holds great prestige over the likes of IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula E, MotoGP. Millions of viewers remember and idolise the champions of the past and the present, and therefore forget those who fail to fit the mould. Unfortunately, it's quite a cutthroat sport. Mazepin, Palmer. For those wanting to see high-tech cars speed across a track, Formula One is for you. 20 of the best drivers in the world compete in competition on 20+ circuits in a season to decipher who is the best in the world. In recent years, British driver Lewis Hamilton has been dominating the landscape of Formula One with 7 World Championships. Of course, that's the same number as legend of motorsport, Michael Schumacher. Nowadays, Dutch driver Max Verstappen is looking like he's on shape to smash all of those records entirely by already winning back-to-back World Championships and now on course to winning his third in the 2023 season. Action is not sparse in F1, with 20 drivers putting pedal to the metal week in, week out over various circuits. Plenty of overtaking, crashes, action alike are bound to occur during a race weekend. All of the action is captured by an abundance of trackside cameras and hundreds and thousands of other pieces of broadcasting equipment, with the help of hundreds of trackside and in-house personnel working on the footage. In itself, this is completely different to a lot of other sports. Tennis is a perfect example of what I mean. All action in tennis is kept onto a field of play, which is unlike F1, as action can be all across a multi-mile track rather than just a meter tennis court. If we take a look at Monza, which is where the Formula One Italian Grand Prix takes place, over in Italy, the track is 3.6 miles in length, which in comparison to tennis, the average tennis court is 23 by 10 meters. That's 0.3% of what Monza actually is in total. So therefore, lots of cameras are needed on the track to create a congruent broadcast for those watching at home. The tracks are huge, which means lots of camera personnel are needed to pull off a broadcast for an F1 race. According to an article by Sam Cooper on Planet F1, over 28 Ultra HD cameras are used alongside 147 microphones. Then another 750 pieces of other equipment. Now this is a lot on the table for these 400 employees that are working at the Biggin Hill location down just south of London. And also don't forget, these 28 cameras doesn't even include all of the ones that are on board or with the drivers in the helmets, wherever, that's just the trackside itself. All the footage captured by all the cameras, whether that be trackside, onboards, helmet cameras, the whole lot gets sent to the Biggin Hill location, where all of that is captured live and then chucked out onto the broadcast appropriately where it all needs to be. Now everyone, no matter where you're from in the world, sees the world feed, which is what they like to call what the standard broadcast is, and then from there broadcasters can pick whether they have their own commentary teams or whether they use the F1 standard commentary team that's included with the package of hosting the F1. For example, in the UK, Sky Sports hold the rights to host the Formula One on their TV stations, and they have their own commentary team. They don't use the in-house F1 standard commentary that the likes of F1 TV will use. Now before we get any further, let's go into all the types of cameras that are used during an F1 broadcast. Of course, as we've already mentioned, let's go into the trackside cameras. Now of course, hence the name, they are located around the track in various locations where action will take place. They capture the basic footage and what's usually seen on the broadcast. In the majority of the time it is the trackside cameras. It's nothing grand, nothing special, but they are integral to the broadcast. They're like the bread and butter. Without them you don't have the full sandwich. Now let's talk about the helicopter camera. This not only allows for an establishing shot of the city or venue that they're located in, but also carries great footage for the race itself. The pair inside the helicopter work in unison, one operating the actual camera and one operating the actual aircraft. The pair works together to get the footage that the people in Biggin Hill want for the broadcast. Another type of camera used are the ones on the actual car, or more commonly known, or more fittingly known, as onboard cameras. Now, each car is meant to have 5 cameras located on them due to FIA regulations. Onboard cameras are great for getting the audience watching to understand the sheer speed of the cars as they're going through. The viewers are essentially in the thick of the action whilst watching the broadcast from this specific angle. There's multiple types of onboard, whether that be through the helmet of the drivers, in the pedals now even, on the front of the wing, and on top of the car as well. And on top of the car from the back and the front as well, so you can see a good perspective of the car driving. Personally, I really do like the helmet camera. It does actually make you think like how they drive it, because they're like this, like sat like that. It's like, how do you drive a car like that? I don't know. Another camera used during the broadcast known as camcat cameras. Now they're the one that slide from side to side above the pit lane. This camera is able to record pit entry and pit exits from the drivers. Now these types of cameras are used quite often elsewhere in the world of sports, like for instance the Olympic Games and any other athletic tournament for that matter. Often because obviously the runners are running so fast, a camera will follow on a zip line, effectively a zip line, and that's the same with F1. And of course there's other various cameras as well around the track, whether that be in the pit lanes or just outside or capturing footage elsewhere. Usually they're handheld by cameramen. Again, they add something to the broadcast, so another angle during the pit lane, which is quite cool. Now, if we look back at the previous article by Sam Cooper on Planet F1's website, it mentions 147 microphones are typically used during a race weekend. Now, the locations of these microphones do vary. For instance, some are located around the track on these trackside cameras. Some are on the radio communications bit, so we can hear that on the broadcast. And some are actually inside the car's exhaust. So us at home watching the broadcast can hear noise that's being created by these cars. Now, that may seem odd at first, having microphones in the exhaust. But ever since 2014, since leaving the V8 era to the V6 era, a lot of people claim that the cars are quieter, and obviously they are. So to counteract this, to combat it, they have put microphones inside the exhaust, so the people on the broadcast can hear it a lot better. The microphones used around the F1 tracks are usually DPA microphones made by a Danish company, DPA, funnily enough, who actually create brilliant microphones, award-winning microphones for the music industry. All the footage and all the audio that gets captured by these cameras and microphones gets instantly sent off to the Biggin Hill location, or otherwise known as the Formula One Media and Technology Centre. All footage that gets captured, all audio that gets captured, has a possibility of making the broadcast. The personnel inside that office in the centre decides what goes out on show, which angle is the best and which is not the best, and which one to use at that current moment. There might be multiple bits of action on the track. There may be multiple cars surpassing each other, what have you, and from there they've got to decide which is the one that they want to show now, and which is the one that they're going to show later in a replay or what have you. And of course it's sensible to think that, with a lot of cameras being there, with a lot of footage being captured, obviously mistakes might happen, whether that be they show the wrong thing at the wrong time, or they get confused and show the wrong thing, and it's essential really that they don't do that many mistakes. A potential slip up by the team at Biggin Hill could lead to audience drop off if there's repetitive mistakes. What's the point in staying around? So it is actually essential that these people at the offices do produce a smooth product. Back in the year 2018, on YouTube, Formula One released a video where they showed the whole process of how they select which camera angles to go to, all that jazz. Where during the 2018 German Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel crashed out in his home race. Obviously a big pivotal moment during that race, as you know, he was challenging for the title alongside Lewis Hamilton. During this YouTube video, they show how complex and how chaotic the room is, with everyone just talking over each other, everyone telling someone what to do, how to do, you know, all of that. Numerous voices can be heard of people telling, you know, to put certain camera angles on and certain ones off, and like how they're queuing other visual elements up and stuff like that. It's very interesting. I'll put a clip right now of it.
Track mix. Next shot, Dave.
By 19 early. It's an off.
Take track
22.
with you, tracks. With you, Bell. Stay on this. Stay on this.
22 with crowd.
Okay,
22 with crowd.
Take one.
Track angle, please.
Okay, RF2. Take RF2.
18
Stand by track mix back to the crowd. That's in the crash. Take track mix.
Okay, holding here. Stand by
Holding
19.
here. RF3. Stand by
Nice,
RF3.
nice,
Stand by A.
nice.
And roll A.
Where would you like
Roll
that?
A, roll round.
Lovely on one as well. Dave.
Track
Phil
angle
Radio.
on B, track angle
Hello,
on B.
radio.
When he
Okay,
buries
we'll
himself
come
into the
round
wall, he
this
says,
way.
"For sake, for sake."
That was lovely.
Okay.
Put any angle you
Because
want.
of that.
Okay.
1 and 2,
roll
Fox, 1 and
B
2
through
now.
to B.
B.
Fox, 1 and 2
Yeah,
now.
okay, Dave,
What's
13
blue?
now.
What's blue?
Stand by
He
13
aborted the
and
pit
take
because of
13.
this,
1
yeah?
and 2.
1 and 2, very close,
Yeah.
Phil.
Okay,
And
safety
reaction
cars out.
safety
Safety
car.
cars out.
And roll C through to C.
With
Do you want
C.
Vettel or this?
No,
And
want-
we've got
I'm
Hamilton
getting told two different
bought
things.
in
What
the
do you want?
pit on
Yeah,
A.
okay.
It's actually quite cool to see what like effectively inside the machine of how it's all produced. So I really like that video. Of course, it doesn't just end there with all the production side of things. You know, they've got to produce social media content, which obviously is now a huge part of sport. You know, it keeps fans hooked on the product. It's also a great way of showing short clips to people who have very short attention spans. We are crumbling. Of course, these posts need to be created basically in an instant to be uploaded on time to their like X account, as we now have to call it, an Instagram account. You know, action happens at any time during an F1 race. It's not limited to a time, so therefore the turnaround time must be immediate. Not only do Formula One post their own content, but the teams themselves have their own accounts, have their own official accounts that they wish to post promotional stuff on, and also track updates and race updates. And also and F1 and the teams are constantly pushing out, you know, pumping out all these different types of content, whether that be on race days, race weeks, or even just on the off season, if you will, where they're just posting, you know, fun little clips and challenge videos and all of that sort of promotional material. All of this all adds to the beast that is the production of F1. So in summary, I've been a fan of this sport since I was a young child. I've always been stunned by the production value of the sport, especially in comparison to a lot of other TV shows and and other sports as well. I just feel like it does excel above a lot of other sports and in that same sort of genre, if you will. They constantly evolve their own broadcast, whether that be trying to implement new features like the helmet camera, which works, or stuff that they do try that doesn't necessarily work so well, like for instance the drones that they try to use during the Barcelona testing. Then they realised that drones wouldn't be that good because obviously it's a health hazard if they go down, you know, that collides with the car, or even worse, the driver could kill them. And also the drones were just simply too slow in comparison to the cars that go in 180 miles per hour, 200 miles per hour, all that. Overall, it's just really impressive, like all these different evolutions of the product, and the fact that it's so complex to edit all together, all live, without being able to, you know, get stuff wrong. It's very interesting for me, and honestly really impressive as well. If you were to just watch one race of the F1 calendar, you would be able to tell how impressive it all is. So I implore you, if you don't know about F1 or you're not really into it, please do watch a race, because you'll be impressed with the quality of the product. I mean, it must be so hard in that control room deciphering which footage to go to, when to go to, do we need to replay, you know, what angle, what graphic we need to shove up, do we need a radio interruption at the minute, you know, it's got to be very hard. You know, it's always, I mean, in some articles they relate it to NASA. They say the control room is like a NASA control room, because of how complex it all is. All the other disciplines, divisions, companies alike within motorsports, like your NASCAR, like your IndyCar, all wish they were F1 with the production quality and value that they bring to the table. They can't compete with F1. It's so one-sided. It truly is broadcasting insanity. Oh, and by the way, if anyone from F1 is watching, introduce 360 cameras like they do in IndyCar, please. Thank you very much.